I'm Dr. Amol Gupta, and I want to thank you for joining me on another episode of the Medicine Mentors, where we interview masters in medicine, leading physicians at the top universities across the United States to learn from their experiences and derive key insights, traits, and best practices that can guide medical students and residents. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Jennifer Christner. She's the Dean of School of Medicine at the Baylor College of Medicine. She completed her medical school from the University of Toledo and went on to complete a residency in pediatrics from the University of Michigan. Over the last 20 years, she has been devoted to leadership and mentorship of physicians across a number of prestigious universities, from an Associate Pediatric Residency Director at the University of Toledo to an Assistant Dean at the University of Michigan, Associate Dean at SUNY Upstate, and now the Dean of School of Medicine at Baylor College of Medicine. At all these places, she has pursued her interests in improving quality in medical education and medical education research. As a testament to her passion for students and teaching, she has been awarded the Teacher of the Year multiple times. Thank you so much, Dr. Christner, for giving us an opportunity to learn more about you and your life story.
Well, thank you. It's really super exciting to be here. I was just saying how much I love podcasts, so this is really thrilling for me. So the honor is mine for sure.
I recently read an article about you, and you have a very colorful side to your life outside of being a physician and in theater. And, walk me through how you maintain balance in such a high profile and stressful job.
So actually that came about because I was not maintaining balance very well at all. And I had done a ton of theater when I was younger, community college, the whole 9 yards, and then that all stopped. And I was approaching a big milestone birthday at the time. I'm not going to tell you which one, but no, I don't care. I was turning 50. I just said, gosh, this is ridiculous. And so there was an ad for an acting class and I signed up and I was incredibly nervous. Like I was so nervous going there. But then I got there and there was people just like me who were kind of rediscovering their passions. There was even another physician there and it was just awesome. And it's the best stress relief. It's just fun. I think it helps me actually be better in my job. So I love it.
Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the major events that helped shape your destiny from your childhood?
I don't know if mine's typical or not typical. Actually, I come from a lower middle class family and my parents struggled for money a lot. I always loved science and biology and all those things. But one of the things that my mother actually always said to me was she would be in a state of despair or whatever, just frustrated. And she would say, Jenny, no matter whatever you do, make sure that you are always able to take care of yourself. Make sure you can always provide for yourself and provide for your family. And that was definitely something that I learned. And it was actually very interesting. So speaking of the arts, I did ballet when I was younger, and I desperately wanted to be a ballerina, at New York City Ballet, George Balanchine, the whole 9 yards. And I was taking dance at Ballet Metropolitan. I had gotten a very good scholarship there. And I was a teenager, and you actually had to decide if you were going to continue on and actually go to a special high school, only attend half day and do dance the other half day. And I made this very difficult decision not to do that because I felt that I knew I could be a doctor and take care of myself, but I didn't know if I could be a famous ballerina and take care of myself that way. So I went the safe and steady route. So those lessons, or going the safe and steady route, was something that I did. And I think as I've gotten older, I have realized, that I need to take more risks.
It's interesting that you came into the profession with the mindset of providing for the family, having a safe, secure future. Much of the work that you did after coming into the profession has been very innovative, has been very education focused, not necessarily focusing on how you can make the most money, but more on how you can have the most impact. Was there a turning point in your life where the switch happened?
So I think that I always knew I could never compromise. I would always have to choose something that I would love, right? And so taking care of kids, and I specialize in adolescence. And so I loved that. And I was never going to compromise that, doing something that I loved. To be very bluntly honest, sometimes taking care of patients wasn't always my favorite thing about my career. So, I often think I want to be a ballerina, but maybe I would have been a teacher or something like that. And so that is what I gravitated to. I remember as a senior pediatric resident, They would call me, my maiden name is Gold, so they would call me Mama Gold, and that I would always take care of the team. And, I gave orientations, for all the team members, and I would organize the call schedule and organize all that stuff. And I loved doing that stuff. And I think I began to realize that I loved a lot of the other aspects of medical care. And I knew pretty early on that I wanted to go in academic medicine because that would afford me the chance to do a whole bunch of things. And that was really attractive to me.
It sounds like from what you've just said, you've always been a natural leader. How did you develop leadership? Were you born like that, or did you have to work hard to build that?
Again, if you do the reading, they say anybody can be a leader, right? You can learn how to do these things. And I think I've always, I remember like when I worked at TJ Maxx as a teenager, and I worked my way up to the service desk, and that was super fun. Like I loved price check. I loved working at the service desk, right? So I think it's more that I'm probably in some ways very driven, and almost in a selfish way. I wanted to be able to buy clothes for myself at TJ Maxx, so I was going to make sure I did a good job at work and was able to do it. So I'm not saying that being selfish is always the right thing to do. So I don't mean that, but I do think there is an aspect of that you do have to look out for yourself, and nobody's going to look out for you better than you. So if you don't learn how to advocate for yourself, if you're looking for somebody else to do something for you, that's not the best way to go. And that is actually something I have given advice to people over the years. So I have a lot of junior faculty that have come and said, well, my boss doesn't recognize me, or my so-and-so, I'm doing all this work and they don't do anything. And I said, well, have you told them what you're doing? Have you advertised yourself? Have you, no, they should know. That's completely wrong. You have to put yourself out there because you know best what you are doing. And so I think that's something that I've probably just always done.
Was there a mentor in your life, or who motivated you, or who did you want to become like that attracted you towards academic medicine?
Yeah. So I think training at University of Michigan, I will always say those are one of the most wonderful 3 years of my life. It was just amazing. So many brilliant people who were down to earth and just such good teachers and mentors. And so I think I really just wanted to be like them. So I saw what a great job they did teaching, what great physicians they were, or what great educators they were, or both. And I really just wanted to be like so many people that were role models for me at University of Michigan.
And through your experience mentoring students and then mentoring physicians and faculty members, can you distill for us what some of those key qualities are that a mentor should embody?
Sure. So I think one of the things is they have to be willing to be really honest with you. I think somebody who's really in it to support you. So I actually really like this word sponsorship, and they talk about the distinction between mentorship and sponsorship, and how a sponsor actually kind of works to actively promote you. And certainly back then I had no idea. I don't even know if that was a term back when I was, growing up, if you will. But I think I probably naturally gravitated towards those type of people who were honest with me, who seemed really wanted to help me, but not only help me, but actually help me get to where I wanted to go and sponsor me, vouch for me. And so I think that's another really important component of being a mentor/sponsor, is that you actually help that person succeed by providing opportunities for them where you can.
Now I'm going to look at this question in reverse.
Okay.
As being part of the, an assistant, being the dean now of Baylor College of Medicine, training hundreds of students, probably coming across thousands of students in your career. What would you say are the key traits and habits of the most successful students that you've mentored?
So I definitely think part of it is being able to be an advocate for yourself. And I think it's really this very delicate balance. And I talk about this with people a lot, of being confident versus cocky, right? And it's very difficult to help people understand that difference. But I think sometimes when you're doing it, when you're more on the cocky side, it's hard to say, I need to reel you in a little bit. You need to be confident 100%, but that comes off a little differently. So I talk about that. It's okay to talk about yourself. It's okay to talk about your accomplishments. You have to do that to get ahead. But there's a way to do it that comes across as genuine and as if you have something to offer, rather than they should be so grateful that you deemed to walk into the room. Some of the biggest things that I have learned have actually not come from physicians necessarily, but came from maintenance people, came from the cafeteria workers. You have to just be open to learn from absolutely everybody.
It seems as if sometimes as physicians, we maybe underestimate or underappreciate the value of those who are around us that make the care experience possible for the patients. And the experiences you have, and maybe a message for young physicians like myself who sometimes forget that and need to be reminded of that.
So I actually tell this story at orientation to the MS1 students a lot because it's a totally true story, a couple stories. So when I was a fourth year medical student doing my pediatric intensive care rotation, there was a physician, his name was Dr. Hennessy, and he knew every person's name in the entire hospital. I am talking from the cafeteria worker to the maintenance person. He knew every single person's name. And I remember saying to him, like, Dr. Hennessy, like, how do you know, like, everybody's name? And he just looked at me like, well, you have to. He said, you have to understand that they will be able to help you, give you information that you won't be able to get anywhere else. And I really thought about that, but I was a fourth year student. I don't think I really got it, right? But then I remember, as a resident, you're taught about to, make sure you talk to the nursing team, get information on them before you round. And I remember, I think just one day I was in the patients, and I was a pediatrician, I was in the room, and it really was the housekeeper who said, I think I saw them eat it. They're supposed to be NPO, but I saw them eat like a whole bag of animal crackers, right? And it was just because I was always friendly with her and smiled, and we would exchange chit chat, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're about to have this big thing, but they just ate this, right? And then it just made me think of Dr. Hennessy and like how everybody can contribute to the care of the patient. And then I thought to my own, I went into premature labor with my first child, and I was hospitalized on bed rest. And I remember that, at least me, I won't speak for all women, but I was very emotional at the time. And the shower curtain in the room had mold on it. And I was just sobbing because it broke my water. I'm trying in there for premature labor, and there's mold on the shower curtain. And I told the housekeeper, and she was so sweet. And she said, oh, honey, I'll take care of that right away. And she got me a new shower curtain and new towels and new everything. And she was like the star. She did more for me and my mental state that day than any doctor, any nurse, anybody. And so it just kept over my life. It just kept hitting home how incredibly important all these other people are to the care of patients, and that we just have to acknowledge them and learn from them and appreciate them.
What's the one thing that you would say, Amol, this is what you need to know going into residency next year? Do not forget this. And you may not believe it right now, but do not forget this. I
would say it's all on you. So, and what I mean by that is people get so stressed, like, where am I going to end up going? And is this hospital or that name or this name? And the bottom line is that you can succeed absolutely anywhere, depending on what you put into it. So it's nobody else's responsibility to teach you. It's nobody else's responsibility to make you learn. It's nobody else's responsibility to do any of that. It is all on you. And you can make the biggest difference for yourself. So stop expecting other people to hand things to you. You've got to make that difference.
What's the secret to motivating an individual to change?
So I have learned that you really can't honestly motivate someone to do anything that they don't want to do. I think, though, what you can do is provide people with, number one, enough tools in their toolbox so that when they are ready to make the change, they have got the tools in their toolbox. And then I think the other thing that you can do is that it's really is people's thoughts about circumstances that often make them choose the actions that they choose. And sometimes people are very stuck in those thoughts and see that, well, I'm in this circumstance, so this is just the result of that circumstance. And so if you can sometimes take a step back and reframe things for them and say, yes, this is your circumstance. And you can look at it like this, but you can also look at it like A, B, C. And sometimes you can see a light bulb go off. And they may not be ready to accept that yet. But again, by planting that seed and by giving the tools in the toolbox, I think that's really all that we can do, because individuals have to decide to make those changes or be motivated themselves.
Dr. Christner, I'm so honored to have this opportunity to delve into your life and learn so many key principles and pearls of wisdom.
The honor is all mine. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Our audience, thank you for tuning in with us here on the Medicine Mentors. Thank you for joining us as we learn from the Masters in Medicine.